Good morning. It is day 23 on the Camino a Santiago, and I am leaving Astorga behind and heading for Rabanal del Camino. That is going to be anywhere between 12 and 13 miles, about 21 kilometers today, about the same distance that I've been doing really the last few days, except that this one is going to be entirely uphill. And yes, I said uphill. We have now left the meseta, so the terrain changes. The other thing that changes is the temperature. We were 95 yesterday. It's only going to be 80 today, so that is very exciting to me. Heat wave has finally broken, thankfully. Now, I'm a little bit mixed on my visit to Astorga. It's a funny little city. I mean, there are things about it that I really enjoyed. The cathedral is beautiful. The Gaudi Palace is beautiful, of course. It also has just a very interesting history. Astorga was one of the first Christian settlements in what was still very much Roman territory back in the day. And so there's a lot of really cool stuff to learn here. But on the other hand, it felt a little bit like a tourist trap. But I did have one of the best meals I've had on the Camino so far, and truly life-changing chickpeas. And yes, I said life-changing chickpeas. You're going to have to believe me on this. Anyway, it's time to get walking. I did bring the walking sticks out again for the first time in probably at least over a week. So that tells you that it is time to go climbing. And guess what? I'm also going to Mass today. No, I'm not converting. Rabanal del Camino has a 7 o'clock service that is given entirely in Gregorian chant, and it's just said to be absolutely an amazing thing to witness. So definitely not missing that this evening. Be stronger than your excuses. Amen. Okay, so it's time to continue with Camino a Santiago History 101. Yesterday we were talking about how King Alfonso II of Asturias essentially became the first pilgrim to Santiago back in the 800s when he was trying to verify whether the remains of St. James had in fact been located in what is now northern Spain. So of course after that, we know the Camino a Santiago not just became a thing, it became a really big thing. But how did it happen? So we need to understand a little bit of the context of what was going on in this part of the world at the time. On the one hand, the Iberian Peninsula had been occupied at this point by Muslim armies from northern Africa for quite a while, and this had united the Christian kings of Europe against them to try and expel those armies. There's also a situation in which, of course, the Catholic Church was not just a spiritual guide for people, but an integral part of people's lives during that time, dictating almost every aspect of it and having tremendous political power as well. And so the idea of going on pilgrimage was not exactly unheard of. It was also something that, in a sense, became expected of you. And with the church and the kings promoting this new pilgrimage to Santiago, that was, of course, much closer for folks in the Iberian Peninsula, it quickly developed. And it developed because these kings and these bishops started building roads and bridges and hospitals and, a whole infrastructure that would allow pilgrims to get to Santiago. And so Who were these first pilgrims? Well, initially there were people who already lived in the Iberian Peninsula, right? In northern Spain or in Portugal. Eventually, as the word spread, people started coming from France and Germany and Belgium and what is now the Netherlands. And that is how this whole network of routes grew. But the interesting thing is also who these pilgrims were. While a great many of them were indeed people of profound faith, there was also an awful lot of other reasons to embark on a pilgrimage to Santiago. Your Aunt Mary died and left you a house. Well, a condition of collecting on that inheritance is that you must make the pilgrimage to Santiago. Or you were a cleric convicted of murder. Well, your sentence was to be on pilgrimage for the rest of your life. Or you were a regular person, man or woman, convicted of adultery. You had to go to Santiago for penance. And these prisoners, whatever their crimes were, they were made to endure the pilgrimage naked oftentimes, in chains, until those chains broke off. So this was an incredibly hard track to endure, really. I mean, again, we really can't try and even emulate those pilgrims of 1,000 years ago. The conditions are completely different, not only in the equipment that we have versus what they had, but just health-wise, infrastructure, all of those things. And, you know, we're all here by choice. And it wasn't always the case back then.